Gothic connection with the city, perhaps. And so I started there, and we had a very successful 5 years or so. And then acid house suddenly happened, and we were kind of shunted over to one side, and we had to wait for our time again for another sort of 10 or 15 years. And then we emerged again. In the meantime, I joined the BBC and became a radio presenter. But that's another story.
So, doing all the things that you're doing, what's been the reception to this project so far?
Great. It's one of those records that people like yourself. They like the title. And I always say, if you can actually get someone interested just by the words in the title, and that's a really good start. And they ask the same question as you: what is urban Gothic blues? And well, I can't actually pinpoint it. I know that if you listen to the record, there's a sense that it's all there. It's just a case you need to maybe detract or rather subtract what you want from it in order to get the full benefit and the full meaning from it. It's a bluesy kind of rock kind of sound that has a fair few sort of haunted specters about it.
That is amazing. We have got Harry Stafford with us today. He joins us live here in a broadcast. Now, you mentioned that while you've been waiting for all of these things to come your way and be able to get things going, you became a broadcaster. You became a radio presenter. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was something I always wanted to do. I was lucky enough because I was lucky enough to start up a student music program about 1989 or so. And I always wanted to be John Peel, the great BBC radio presenter who, of course, was amazing in playing so many brilliant bands from the punk era, post-punk. And I always quite fancied doing that. It never quite happened, but I found myself in the newsroom at BBC in Manchester, and I was able to set up a kind of a news and arts program. And after that, I went into network and worked for what we call Radio 4, which was quite a posh station, mainly working in Manchester. And I did that for 10 years or so, and that was amazing. And I love radio. I think radio is one of those amazing genres. It's theatre of the mind.
Yes.
It's just hearing words and hearing people come up with ideas, and you can walk around the room and let all these ideas flood into you. You don't need to be sat in front of a television screen. It's for me, it's the best media. So
you've done radio, you've done music. Talk to us here a little bit about this record that you have out there that we're promoting today.
Well, the record, I was just going to grab a copy of it, actually. I don't have one with me. The record is, it's an old-fashioned vinyl record. It's got 10 tracks, 5 either side. And this goes back to the days when I used to buy records. And I like the idea of the tracks. You would remember track. You'd sort of say opening track side 1.
Yes.
And you'd get very excited about that. And you'd almost read the message that the album has just by following the tracks down. People rather sort of pick tracks and don't necessarily have a running order as there was in the old days, as I'm trying to recreate here. So yeah, it tells a story from beginning to end about the city, about the metropolis, the naked city. There's many stories in a naked city, and here are a few of them for you. And they're mainly stories about characters and things that have happened to me, I suppose, over the years. And what I like about it is it's, as I say, it's got a sense of a narrative, and you don't necessarily have to buy the record, but it would sure spoil the fun if you didn't.
Harry Stafford with us today. He joins us live here on a broadcast, guitarist and singer. When did you first discover the guitar, my friend?
Oh gosh, the guitar I picked up when I was 14, and as I imagine many people did during the age of punk, they listened to the Ramones' first album, they listened to the Damned's first album, they listened to this, and they thought, chords, bar chords, I can do this. and we learned to play fast and loose, and with as few chords as possible. And that's how I learned to play. And it was just the most exciting time. The certainly the late 70s in England, and certainly in Manchester when I was here briefly, were absolutely fantastic. And I had to get a band together, and because there were so many people wanting to do the same thing, there was no shortage of people who were quite happy to pick up a guitar or a bass or drums or a microphone and start shouting. And it was a really exciting time. And so I suppose I'm no great guitarist, but I like to think I can play very fast and fairly accurately.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, when you have done some of the different things that you've done, because in the 80s, you were doing a lot of music. What have you seen change musically throughout the years?
Well, you know, when I was growing up, what I really liked about music was the sense of there were lots of different kinds of music in terms of there were tribes. You could have people who were into sort of electronic, sort of strange Kraftwerk kind of sort of atonal, sort of weird soundscapes, and you'd have people who were into, I suppose, dance music, and then you'd have punk, and then you'd have various tribes of different music. Nowadays, it's very hard to actually hear these tribes. A lot of the music all ends up on the radio station, and it's of a certain genre, which is pop music. And so you lose that. I mean, reggae music has completely vanished from the zeitgeist because it just doesn't seem to have any sway in it at all. In the same way that strange avant-garde noise music has disappeared. I remember when I was a kid, you used to listen to bands like Cabaret Voltaire and Einstürzende Neubauten, who were almost obtuse in making this very destructive, incredible noise, which was the radio wouldn't play it because, of course, it wasn't pop music. But it had this incredible following. We've lost a lot of that nowadays. A lot of people make music because they want as many people as possible to listen to it. And because of that, it, of course, takes away all the rough edges. And there's many, 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 many people all doing the same thing. Whereas when I was growing up, there were people actively trying not to do the same as everyone else. And they wanted to be completely different. And so they would go out of their way to make a noise or an expression or some kind of creation that deliberately went against what everyone else was doing. And I think we've lost that today. And that's a real shame because I really like being surprised by a piece of music that just jumps out of it. I'm not saying that it doesn't have to be a piece of pop music, but I want something that's going to really do something, like it's going to maybe put your nails down a blackboard every now and again just to make me feel a little sort of shiver down my spine.
Awesome. Awesome. We're going to play Gothic Urban Blues right now. Tell me about this track, and then we're going to play it here.
Okay. This track, you imagine you have to be floating in some kind of strange spacecraft over the city, looking down at the insects below. And the idea of it is it's somebody who just looks down in a kind of hungover state of the city that they live at, and they see it in new eyes. And the Gothic Urban Blues bit is that you look down and it'll never be the same again because you've had that moment. And the blues part of it is the sadness of realizing that that moment is gone. But keep playing the track and it may happen again.
That is fantastic. Well, as we wrap up here, Harry, before we get to this song, how do we find you online, social media, buy this album, everything?
Oh gosh, if you just Google my name and then stick something like Facebook behind it, or Spotify, or SoundCloud, all Bandcamp, all of the regular outlets, I usually have. Funnily enough, there's not too many Harry Staffords who are musicians, so I'm quite lucky in that respect.
Yes.
So you should be able to find me. Obviously, there's lots of Harry Staffords, but not musicians. So if you Bandcamp, as I say, on Facebook, and you'll find a picture of me looking fairly moody. And as I say, that's the what else did I say? Oh, it's Spotify.
Yes.
Go to Spotify, and there's you can listen to the records there. Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Well, Harry, I appreciate it. We are going to go to this track. I appreciate it. Thank you for being on.
Been brilliant. Thanks, James.
Thank you, man. There he goes. Harry Stafford joins us today here on Skype. And here is the song we were talking about. It is Gothic Urban Blues. And it's here on your world famous KJAG Radio broadcast right now. Hopefully.
Things just got acuter. Drive me to the ocean where the scene drops forever. Take me to the last place where there's any fun. Take me to casino in the sky. Stick a black heart of tokens in my hand and get Lady Sorrows to tell my fortune. Put me in the penthouse of the shifting sands and drop 10 grand on a cola. Take me to the top of the Gothic highs. Take me to the breathless, I'll let you talk. Way up in the world on the wings of spacecraft. I'm looking down to the inside below. Tighten the bolts and all the gears. Let's see what this baby can do. Strap yourself in and get your camera out. And on to the Gothic Urban Blues. Hey, something just got loose. I can feel the whole joke changing as we speak. But did you lie to the fortune teller? Made it up to sugarcoat all of your woes. Crack us and exhaust fumes in my lungs. Hide the smell of the back city dream. Put me in the barrel that goes over the falls. I bet I don't come out on the other side. Take me to the top of the Gothic heights. Take me to the breathless, I'll let you talk. Way up in the world on the wings of spacecraft. I'm looking down to the inside below. Tighten the bolts and all the gears. Let's see what this baby can do. Strap yourself in and get your camera out. And on to the Gothic Urban Blues. Yeah, take me to the top of the Gothic heights. Take me to the breathless, I'll let you talk. Way up in the world on the wings of spacecraft. Looking down to the inside below. Tighten the bolts and all the gears. Let's see what this baby can do. Strap yourself in and get your camera out. And on to the Gothic Urban Blues.
Gothic Urban Blues. It's Harry Stafford, and we appreciate him making time for us today. And that about wraps it up here Get more information on our website, kjagradio.com. Also, amfm247.com.